Hello, everyone. Good evening, and how are we doing? Please, let's confirm if we can hear me. Okay, great. All right. So, um, we started this journey for a few weeks now, right? And then also each week we try to break everything down for every one of us to understand and also be able to go through this journey and then be on a better place or a better position with our finances, right? So we started from understanding our relationship with money and then to gaining clarity. And now we are moving to behavior and execution, right? And then also last week we focused on financial reality, and then also in there we understood our income, our spending, and then also the truth behind our numbers, right? Okay, so one thing that stood out last week was that whether we check our numbers or not, they still exist, right? Sorry, give me a minute. Whether we check our numbers or not, they still exist, right? So we've done quite a lot. And then I just want to engage us more before I bring Ahmed on board. So we are about 5 years. Let me start from Judith. So Judith, please, this question is for everyone, right? Judith, but then starting from you, uh, if you've been with us for a while now, you should understand everything that we shared, and then the workbook and all of that. You've been going through it and all. So I want to ask everyone, um, are these things helping? Are we seeing changes in everything that we shared? Are we also applying them, right? So openly, if you can hear me, let's start from Judith.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Please, I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, we started the program 2 weeks ago, and so far, so good. I can see improvements in my financial life.
Okay, that's
Okay, sorry. So, for the week one, we learned about how we should treat money as a tool and not like as a scorecard. And the week two, we talked about we not spending based on our emotions and all that. And with the week two, it really spoke to me because I'm that kind of person that really spend money based on like peer pressure and emotions. Sometimes, like as we are on campus like this, you close from class, you'll be feeling tired, and you see your friends also buying food outside, and you just buy the food. Meanwhile, you have a food in the fridge. All you need to do is just to come and eat it. So that was my major problem. And so I wasn't saving, like, to be very honest. The moment I get the money, I just spend them. So after the week two, after doing the workbook, I realized that I need to make some changes. And so implementing it. I started implementing it. Like, let's say like this week I've not been spending, I've not been overspending. And when I'm spending, I don't spend based on emotions. I think about it. I think about the benefits, the consequences, the costs and all that before I spend. So yes, that is it. Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Judy. That is so powerful. Let me just share my own just this evening. So this evening I was going to buy food. Uh, I didn't really know what exactly I wanted to buy, but then I wanted to buy food. Then when I got there, I bought yam, and then just after buying the yam, I saw a woman selling fruit, and then she added pear. So I saw the pear, I bought yam, and then I was like, then let me add the pear. Then after thinking, then I remembered last week meeting, and then I just passed, left her alone without even buying. Okay, so if I'm just saying this to say that if we are all to really stick and then apply to everything that we are hearing or we are listening to, then it's going to help us. It's going to help us. Okay, the pair she was like is 10 cities, 20 cities. So assuming I'm even just going for the 10 cities own, right? So then that 10 cities is just going like that, right? I'm not saying don't buy, but then last week meeting was that everything that we want to do must be intentional, and then it must be part of our budget, right? So if something is not within your budget, then it's good we leave it, and then we try to save something as well. So let me move on to Jessica. Jessica, can you hear me? Okay, so can you share with us what you learned, and then from day one, and then how this journey is really helping you?
Okay, so good evening once again, and thank you for the opportunity, Ahmed. I'm so grateful. So I think I'll just highlight a bit of what Judith shared, the part where she spoke about not allowing like your emotions to dictate for you when it has to do with spending money. So I think sometime I read in the workbook one of I think I don't know whether it was the first or second one, but then there was a part that spoke about pausing before making unplanned expenses. So I remember one time I was coming from work and then there's this biscuit I like a lot. And I didn't plan to buy it, but when I saw the biscuit was tempting me. So I had to pause and be like, Asika, do you really have to buy this biscuit? Like, why do you want to buy it? Is it just for the instant satisfaction? So when you buy it, then what has happened? Like you can still delay gratification. You don't need to buy it. I had to convince myself, sir. I didn't buy it eventually. I'm so proud of myself. And one thing I'm doing is that at the end of every week, I try to reward myself. Like when I say reward, I don't mean something so big. Like I even just buy myself a toffee for following the rules. So if let's say I was struggling with buying things anyhow, if I'm able to constrain myself and follow the rules and not buy anyhow, like if it's not within my budget, I buy myself something just to encourage myself that I can do it. So please, that's my little tips.
All right, thank you, Jessica. And then there is one other Judith. So the first Judith was Judith Ohini, right? So uh, the next Judith on the line, can you share with us? And then also if this journey is really helping, and how you have benefits from it as well. And if you can hear us,
Um,
yeah.
yes, please. Please, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Please, so far, I've learned that we should be, how should I say, we should be like conscious about how we spend our income. We should draw a budget always. Like, you should know the amount you receive, and then you should draw your expenses. Then you should also set aside some parts of the income as savings. Please, that's what I've learned so far.
Okay, thank you, Judith. All right. I don't know why today our members are not really here. Let me see if there's another person here. Okay. So please, if you know a friend that should be here, but then for some reason they are not here, you can quickly send them a message. Okay, and then let them know that we have started. If you can call them as well, please do that. Okay. So we must be disciplined with our finances. Okay, I think last week somebody was saying that on Sunday, every Sunday after church, they can't do away with fufu, right? But once that is in your budget, you know you should, you know you should go and do that, or eat your fufu with your friends or not, right? Outside your budget, we should always try to limit it so that at the end of the week, at the end of the month, or even at the end of the year, we have something that we can save for ourselves or invest towards our future, right? So I wish everyone is here, but then um, let's just continue, right? So today we want to look at habits and our financial behaviors, right? Most of the time, just as we just shared, right? We some way somehow think or listen to financial advice and all of those stuff, and then we are like, okay, so I have this, I want to do this, right? You have the intention of doing something that you know is going to help you at the long run, but then your habits, your daily routines will not give room for that. So you have the intention, all right, but you don't see yourself doing exactly what you intend doing, right? Then you go back to your usual habits or usual behaviors, right? And then you end up maybe blaming yourself or blaming the system. So today we really want to understand that, right? So before Ahmed starts that session with us, I also want him to quickly or briefly share uh, this journey. I mean, his take on this journey, with us, and then he usher us into today's section. Yeah, so Ahmed.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Sebastian. Please, I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so good evening to everyone here. I trust we are doing so much well. So I was quietly listening to everyone's observation, and it kind of feel like a bit familiar. Especially, I can personally resonate with that of Sika. You trying to like, especially you being the trainer, and then like you are facing a particular situation that you've been telling people to avoid, but then because it's been a habit of yours, you are trying to find it very difficult to avoid it. Especially it's like you being scrolling on social media and then maybe MTN telling that your data is about to finish. And you know, it's part of my behavior. Once I see like you spend 80% of your data, I'll try to buy a new one. But then last week, I mean, most of the times when they send that message and I try to buy, then I try to reflect. Ahmed, you've been telling people that don't be buying or don't be spending money without planning for it. And here lies the case where MTN is trying to force or let's say trying to let you do something like that. I wanted to do it, but then because I have been talking about this, I had to stop because if I mean you have to practice what you preach. So I had to stop. That is part of the experience that I went through last week. But then some of what you guys shared is really, really similar with me. All right, so as Sebastian talked about this evening, we are going to focus about our behavior and most important patterns around our money. So we are going to talk about patterns, financial habits, triggers, and behavior loops. It's going to be very interesting and as such. So today, I want us to let me share my screen first. I almost forgot to do that. Okay, so please, whilst I'm waiting to do that, last week after the session, I went through the video, watching it and all that. I realized that at some moment I went totally silent, and I didn't know because I continued speaking, but then seems like you guys weren't hearing me. So for today, in case I'm speaking and then I go off for like 3 to 5 seconds, please kindly alert me so that I'll work on that because I might be speaking on something yet people will not be hearing me or something as such. So let me share my screen and then we can move on. So this week is the last session, the last practical session that we are going to have. We've started from week 1 and today is week 3, or this week is week 3. For next week is going to be focused largely on exercise, right from what the exercise we've been doing from week 1 to week 3. We are going to combine everything into a well-structured exercises. I think about 7 exercises. You are supposed to do 3 and do additional 2 out of the optional. So there's going to be 4 additional exercise which are options, and you select the 2 that you want to do. So in total you are going to do about 5 different exercises to culminate everything that we've been doing from week 1 till this week or next week. So let's delve into the next session. As you all can see on your screen, we are going to focus on patterns, and we will focus on habits, triggers, and behavior loops. It's very, very important. So let's start with, sorry. Okay, so let's start with this. The core truth: what you repeat becomes your financial identity. I believe this is not something new. We already know that what we consistently do becomes our identity. So if you are someone who likes to read a lot, very soon it becomes an identity in you. In fact, the way you speak, the way you interact with people, people will know that you are a reader. And it's the same as, let's say, a singer. The more you sing, the more people will see that kind of identity in you. And when it comes to your finances, it's the same. What you mostly repeat will automatically becomes your financial identity. So most of us think that many problems, I mean, we have a lot of money problems. Most of us, that is what we think about, especially when we receive our salary, our income, and within a short period, the money is missing. Like it has vanished. Let me use that term. It has vanished. We normally think that, hey, then I have a lot of financial problems and all that. But then in reality, it's because you've been repeating some patterns, some few patterns in different forms. And that is why you think you have a lot of financial problems. But then once you've been able to identify the patterns, then the change becomes very possible. It becomes very easy for you to identify. So you have to understand this. Most of what you do, most of your behavior towards money is based on patterns. If you identify your patterns, then things are going to become very easy for you. And then there's a point here that says that your current financial situation is the sum of your repeated decisions. Let me repeat that again. Let me try to repeat that again. It says your current financial situation is the sum of. Oh, so sorry about that. So I repeat that again. It says your current financial situation is the sum of your repeated decision. What you mostly do, or like a repeated decisions regarding your money, will give birth to your current financial situation. So if currently, if you are a student, you don't earn and you not mostly rely on your, allowance from your parents, and you are mostly broke, is because of your repeated financial decisions. And it's the same for young professionals. If by the end of the month you receive your salary, but then within the 20th to the 30th you are mostly broke, it's because of your repeated financial decision. And understand this: one bad financial decision cannot destroy your financials. One bad financial decisions cannot destroy your finances, but then one repeated financial decisions, especially bad decisions, will definitely create financial crisis for you. And then the opposite is true as well. One good decision cannot create financial transformation. Let me give you an example. If you decide that I'm not going to be saving, and then out of the moon you decide that, okay, I'm going to save 1,000 cedis today, it's not going to change your financial, it's not going to change your finances. And it's the same thing. If you are consistent with your finances, you track your expense, you make sure that you stay within your budget, and then one day, because of an emotion or maybe your circumstance, you spend, outside your budget, it won't affect your finances because it's just one bad decisions. But then if you consistently do that, that is where it's going to create financial crisis for you. So the first point for this tonight's session is what you repeat becomes your financial identity. If you are someone who tracks your expense, someone who makes sure that you stay within your budget, and who makes sure that you are on point with your finances, then that will become your financial identity. That means you are going to be seeing clarity, stability in your life. But then if you are someone who overspend, who doesn't track his or her expense, then you are always going to be in financial distress. So now the second point here is habit override intention. Habits override intention. And this is very, very true. Now, let me ask all of us here a question. How many times have you told yourself, hey, Sika, or maybe, hey, Judith, I need to save more money? Like you are telling yourself that I really, really need to save more money. But then only to reach the end of the month and you realize that you've saved nothing. And then how often have you made that decision with full conviction? You are very, very sure, 100% sure that by the time the month ends, I'm going to save, let's say, 500 CDs or something. Yet somehow you have the same repeated outcome. You have that intention that, oh, I really want to save. But then by the time the month ends, you are not really where you want to be. So this is something that we have to realize, that our financial problem is not a lack of knowledge, but it's because of our financial repetition or our patterns. So most people believe that they have money problems, which I talked earlier on. but then it's because of your repetition or your financial patterns in different forms. So you also have to understand this. Your financial life today is not random. It is accumulated result of repeated behaviors over time. So if you are someone who loves to spend on snacks every evening, don't think that it's just one random behavior or habit and then so it's not going to affect me. If you keep on doing it, it becomes your identity. It becomes your identity. So one of the biggest misconceptions about money is the belief that intention is enough. Many of us, we genuinely want to invest. Okay, we want to save, we want to invest, we want to spend wisely, but then our intention is weak when it is not supported by our habits. You can decide that from today I want to be a very good person, I want to be a kind person, but then if you don't have that habit of helping people, then there's no way you ever be kind. You have the intention of doing that, but then your habit will override that. And that is why most people, and that is why most people fail their New Year resolution fail. Every year, people will be like, as for this year, I want to become a financial analyst. I'm going to learn this trade. I'm going to start the business and all that. But then by the end of February, like people have forgotten all those dreams. It's not like they didn't have the internship or they didn't set the internship right. But most of the times it's because of their underlying habits. So if you have the habit of watching videos on TikTok every day, let's say you spend 2 hours every day watching videos on TikTok, and New Year revolution is I want to stop watching videos and I want to use that time to be learning or taking online courses to build myself. But you don't really stop watching the videos, then it's just about internship or a marriage. Nothing is going to change. And it's the same with your finances. You can have very good internship. Maybe right after this session, you might have a change of heart that from today, I'm going to track my expense. I'm going to budget before I spend. But then if you don't change your habits, then nothing is going to change. So most people set internship without changing any underlying habits. They rely on motivation, which fluctuates daily. But then the smart people, the worldly people, they rely on systems, frameworks, and processes which persist regardless of emotion. So if you really want to achieve financial stability, it has nothing to do with motivation. Because for motivation, it depends. Sometimes it fluctuates, it's high, it's low, and all that. But if you really want to achieve the financial clarity that you have the internship for, then it has to do with building systems, building frameworks, and processes. Because for that one, it has nothing to do with emotions. It has nothing to do with your emotion or motivation because you've already built system. So now let's have a look at why financial mistakes repeat. Why financial mistakes repeat. Okay, so mistakes repeat until understood. If you don't understand your mistakes, then there's no way you can correct that, because there's a saying that you cannot fix something that you refuse to see. Last week, if you remember, we talked about numbers, about you checking your numbers, tracking your expense and all that. And if you remember, I said something that if you refuse to measure your numbers, if you refuse to check your numbers, then there's no way you can build financial clarity. There's no way you can build financial stability. And it's the same here. If you keep on making mistakes, but then you decide not to check your patterns, then there's no way you can correct those patterns. Every time you avoid looking at your bank balance, you reinforce the habit of avoidance. And every time you make an emotional purchase without reflection, you're restricting the natural pathway between emotion and spending. So all that you have to understand is we all make financial mistakes. You have to own it up, analyze it, see the patterns, and then come up with a solution towards that. But if you decide that I'm not going to be checking my mistakes, I'm not going to be analyzing the patterns, and if you do that, then there's no way you'll be able to achieve the clarity that you want. So now let's move from what we've been talking about, which is finance or financial intelligence, and let's talk about the human brain. So you all know that once a behavior becomes a habit, your brain automates it to save processing power. And that is why, because we've been brushing our teeth regularly, nowadays you can be brushing your teeth and even be thinking about something, but then your brain will automatically do that for you. There are a lot of things that your brain automates for you once, like you realize that you've been doing it consistently, so that it can save power and focus on the most important stuff. That is how the human brain works. Okay, so once your behavior becomes a habit, let's say a financial behavior becomes a habit, then your brain is going to automate it in order to save power. And that is why if you have a financial behavior and you refuse to analyze it, you refuse to see the patterns, then your brain is going to automate it. And that is why most of us, whenever we finish eating, we try to buy snack, like it becomes a habit. So our brain automates it and we don't even realize it. It becomes part of our subconscious brain, to the extent that we do it without even thinking about that. And that is why if you are used to buying data, once it finished or once you've spent 50% of it, it becomes part of your subconscious mind and you start doing it without even thinking about that. So for you to be able to break your patterns, it requires three different steps. The first one is for you to recognize it, seeing the pattern clearly. If you refuse to see the patterns, then there's no way you'll be able to break a financial pattern. Then the next one is the interruption, that is catching yourself while within the pattern. You have to like reflect on it, know that okay, this is the pattern, and this is most of the times where where the patterns normally happens. Then the last step is replacement, which is choosing a different response. Okay, so if you are someone who likes to spend without reflecting, that which is a pattern. Okay, so maybe it could be a financial behavior like whenever. Okay, so let me use this scenario so that it can make it very easy for all of us here. So last week, someone talked about him and his friends every Sunday they're going to spend money on fufu or something as such. So it becomes a financial behavior, and maybe let's say it's not part of his budget or it's not within his budget. So that makes it a bad financial behavior, and he wants to avoid that. So the first thing he has to do is to identify the patterns. That is every Sunday they spend money on fufu, which is a bad behavior. So that is you identifying the pattern. The next one is to interrupt it. So that is maybe the next Sunday right after church. That is where you are going to interrupt that pattern. That hey, every Sunday I've been spending money on food with my friends, and it's a bad behavior which is affecting my finances, and I have to stop that. So for this week, I have to pause it and then reflect on that. Then the next one is for you to replace that financial behavior. So instead of maybe going out with your friends to buy the fufu and spending a lot of money, you can decide that okay, I'll go home straight after church. I'm not going to wait for my friends. So if I don't wait for my friends, then there's no way I'm going to join them to spend money on food. So that is one way, or that is the three steps you're going to be using to break financial patterns. The first one is for you to identify it, see it clearly. Then you catch yourself mid pattern. Then the last one is to replace that financial pattern with a good behavior. So let's talk about triggers. What pushes you to spend the way you spend? So certain situations trigger predictable spending behaviors. So last week, most people, I think about 8 people, shared their workbook with us, and I was reading through it, analyzing it, and one thing I realized is triggers, why we spend the way we spend. And most of us, we chose stress as the reason why we spend. After this work, we are very tired, so we see a drink and we decide to spend it. And that is why we spend. When I checked the rate book, it was one of the most dominant reason why or triggers why we spend a lot of money. Yes, why we spend a lot of money. So some people, their triggers is boredom. Once they feel bored, then they try to go online to find something to shop or something as such. And some people too, it's about celebration. Yeah, some people too, it's about celebration. Oh, sorry about that. I had a problem and I had to solve it. So please, let's continue with. Yes, so we're talking about triggers create automation responses. So as I said, some of us, our financial triggers is celebration. When we feel happy, that is when we start to spend on expensive stuffs. And some of us, our triggers is payday. Immediately we receive our salary, that is when we start to spend without even analyzing it. And some of us too, it's about comparison. Once we spend time with our friends and maybe they've bought a new phone, then it triggers us to also go and spend on phone or something as such. So it's all about you identifying your triggers, working on it, and that alone will help you to avoid impulse spending. So now let's talk about consistency. Last week we talked about how how our expenses can compound when we don't analyze it well. Yes, we talk about that. So this week we are also talking about the power of consistency and how it beats intensity. So let me use this illustration to talk about this. If you decide to spend if you decide to spend or save 500 cedis monthly for 6 months, you are going to have 3,000 cedis. See, 500 cedis monthly is a huge money, but if you decide to spend or to save it for only 6 months, you are going to be having 3,000 cedis. But if you decide to be very consistent, in as much as your saving amount is very small, let's say if you decide to save 20 cedis daily, then you are going to be having 7,300 cedis by the end of the year. So it's all about consistency, not intensity. So if you think that I'm going to be saving 1,000 cedis every week, then within 1 month you stop, or within 2 months you stop, then it's not going to. I mean, you are not going to achieve what you want to achieve. It's all about consistency. You can decide to be saving 10 cedis a day, and that will give you 70 cedis a week, and that's going to give you about 310 cedis a month. And if you keep on building this consistency, by the time you realize, the money is going to be huge for you. So it's not about intensity, but it's about consistency. That is it. So now let's end tonight's session with this. Your financial habits are learnable. This is very powerful. Your financial habits are learnable. So let's talk about that. It is very important for you to understand that financial habits are learned and not inherited. You didn't inherit your financial habit from your parents or your experience, but rather you learn it based on your environment, your exposure to money, and all that. And no one is really born with, no one born is, bad with money. You can't just wake up and be like, as for me, I'm really bad with money. No, it's all about your exposure towards money. Your financial behaviors are shaped by your environment, experiences, and exposure. Someone raised in an environment of scarcity, where always there's a need for money, may develop habit of fear and overcaution. And someone raised in abundance, where there's a lot of money in the family, may develop habit of excessive spending. And that is why no one is really crazy about money. I think this is the second time I'm talking about this. If you have a friend who always spend a lot of money, then don't think that the person is crazy because the person is overspending. Is because they've been shaped by, it's because of their perspective towards money, and because they've been living in an environment with abundance of money. And if if you are checking your financial numbers and it creates anxiety for you, then you may have developed a habit of avoidance. Okay, if you check your numbers or financial numbers and you feel some kind of anxiety, then it's because you've developed the habit of avoidance. But then you have to understand this, as I said earlier on, you can train yourself to pause before spending, to track your financial consistency, and to prioritize saving before spending. You don't really have to limit yourself that this is my habit and that is how it's going to be. Okay. So ultimately, sorry about that. So ultimately, the goal of this session is not to overwhelm anyone with multiple changes, but the goal is for you to focus on one critical area of your finances, which is your patterns. This is because your financial situation will not change simply because you attended tonight's session. No, if you think that just because I attended tonight's session, my finance situation is going to change, then you are very wrong. It will change when your financial behavior changes, and behavior changes when patterns change. So please, for this week, the task is simple but powerful. Just identify your financial patterns that you repeat consistently. It might be impulse spending, it might be avoiding your financial patterns, or maybe it might be overspending when you receive your salary. And once you identify it, you can apply the three-step process we talk about, which is recognize it clearly, interrupt it in real time, and replace it with a better financial behavior. And this is where your real financial transformation will begin. The reality is that you do not need to fix everything at once. It's not about intensity, but it's about consistency. You need to fix what you repeat, because what you repeat will become your financial identity. What you repeat will become your financial identity. So that is the session for tonight. And I'll hand it over to Sebastian to ask questions. In case there's no question, then we will delve into the exercises. So please, Sebastian, you can take over.
All right, Ahmed, thank you for that. Okay, so when you were talking about the financial behaviors or decision, so I think I remembered one of the section we in the workbook we asked you to take one financial behavior and then track it. So I would like to know, are we doing that, and which behavior are we tracking, and what can you share about the changes, or uh, what is changing basically since the day you started tracking that? I don't know if I should mention name or hello anyone. Hello, hello, hello. Can we hear me? Okay, Richard. Okay, so in one of our meetings, I don't know if it's the first meeting. I believe it's the first meeting, right? In the workbook, you were asked to track one financial behavior, right? So I just want to know quickly, uh, what particular or one behavior basically are you tracking, and what are the patterns that you are seeing, and then um, I don't know if you get my point. Just that one behavior that you pick and then you are tracking. Can you share what is changing with us? Yeah, basically. So let me start from Richard. Those that weren't with us from the beginning. Rich,
Hello.
yeah, can you share that with us?
Oh, okay. It's my spending that I started tracking, but sometimes I've forgotten. Yeah, I don't even take like um putting. Yeah, I was taking account of what like I've been spending my money on. Yeah, that's what I've been doing, but I've been skipping so many times. So, but with the little the small that I've done, I've got to understand that sometimes I spend on things that I don't really plan for it. So that one too has helped me to stop spending on things that maybe I don't really need. Yeah,
All
so
right.
this is what I can say.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So when Ahmed was presenting, he there was a section that he mentioned that everything about our finances we can learn. It means that we can also unlearn. So and then these things that we are talking about, we don't really inherit them, but then we learn them over time. So, uh, quick one, also maybe just at random, anyone that feel like sharing, right? What is one financial behavior that you can share with us that this particular one you learned it when growing up, and then you really want to unlearn that again? So you learned it, but then now you don't want to uh, have that kind of behavior, or you just want to do away with it. Hello, anyone?
Okay, so I would share what I learned when I was growing up. One of the behaviors, my elder sisters used to tell me that money is the root of all evil, and they were like, you see, the rich people, they are greedy, they are selfish, they are into a lot of bad things and all that. So I feel like money is not something that you should, be chasing after and all that. But when I grew up, I realized that it's not like money is the root of all evil. No, it's good for you to have a stable source of income. Like, but to me, I feel like too much of it is bad. But money is not the root of all evils. If you have it, fine. But having it too much, there's a problem somewhere here. So that's one of the belief I learned when I was growing up.
Okay, so that's good. And then, well, you said too much of it. Well, maybe I'll do that back and not here. Quickly, who will also want to share something that they learned and now they are, you basically want to unlearn that or do away with that completely? Yes, who else? Anyone? Hello, anyone? Theophilus? Hello, Theo. Okay, so I think Ahmed, we can proceed to the exercises if please, and before that, do you have any question based on what has been shared, or even maybe from the previous one, if there is any question or concerns? Hello, before we move on to the exercise. Hello, please, can you hear me? All right, so are there any questions? Yes, Jessica.
Okay, so I wanted to suggest that I think that hurry up. Ahmed spoke about the need to save, like the fact that when you save small, small, it becomes huge at the end, like consistency in saving. And I think that when you see, there are some accounts that you can automate. Like you can give an order to it that maybe take 5 CDs out of my money every day or 10 CDs, and it does that. So I think if we also try to adapt that, it will also help a lot because sometimes, humanly speaking, it's hard to be consistent in the savings. It's very hard. And so when the account knows that, okay, I'm supposed to automate this, automatically we just deduct whatever amount you give it. And I think it's really helpful as well. So I wanted to suggest that.
All right, thank you. So what I will share about that is that I think last week we mentioned about sharing a dashboard with you, right? We haven't shared that yet. But then also we are doing this in the course of 12 weeks. So uh, this that you said, and even a dashboard that we are yet to share, they will all come along the way. But then we really want to break the foundations before we get to what you are asking for. But then yes, there are apps that you can use to automate your savings and all of that. We will get there. I believe that answers your question. All right. Do we have any other question? Hello, before the exercises, if you have anything to add or maybe a submission or a suggestion, anything. All right, Ahmed, I don't think anyone has anything at the moment, so we can begin with the exercises.
Okay, that is fine. Okay, that's fine. So let's focus on the exercises. Okay, so the first exercise is the 7 spending trigger tracker. So for the next 7 days, you have to track every single purchase that you make and then the trigger behind it. So this exercise reveals the emotional and situational patterns driving your spending. And as usual, this is a work example. So Kofi is a 25-year-old professional, and here are 3 days from his tracker. So we have daytime, what he bought. As you can see, the time was 1:15 p.m. He bought wache with for 25 cedis. And the trigger was he was hungry at work. He didn't pack any lunch. The emotion was he was hungry, and it was an unplanned purchase. Then the same Monday around 8:30 p.m. he bought 20 cedis data bundle, and the trigger was run out while scrolling social media. What I observed last week. Then he was frustrated because of that, and once again it was an unplanned purchase. Then on Tuesday, Uber to work, 35 cedis. He woke up late. He missed the church roll, and if you're in Accra, then definitely you know how frustrating this is. And because of anxiety, he rushed. That was, I mean, his emotion. And once again, it was unplanned. So from Monday to Wednesday, there are different expenses of coffee, and the reason behind it, the amount he spent, and whether it was planned or not. So after 7 days, this is the analysis of coffee. He said, my most common trigger was tiredness and lack of planning. 85% of my spending was unplanned. I spent 437 cities on unplanned purchases in 1 week. That is 100,748 monthly. If I had meal prep on Sunday and woken up 30 minutes earlier, I would have avoided at least 200 cities of this. So that is its reflection after tracking every single purchase for the next 7 days. So now it's up to you. You have to, the instruction is for you to carry this tracker with you, or you can use your phone. Record every purchase, no matter how small. Even if you buy water, a sachet of water, please kindly record that. Be very honest with yourself about the triggers. This will help you to understand why you spend. So if you are using this workbook, you can fill in. So for this workbook, we just made it based on this. But within a day, you can spend like four, you can make five or more different purchases. So you can write it beneath that of the subsequent ones just beneath it. You don't have to create a new column or something as such or a new row. So after 7 days, you have to complete an analysis. Your most common trigger or spending trigger was, you write it, the emotion that appeared most before spending, the percentage of your spending that was unplanned, total amounts you spent on unplanned purchases. Then, if you had paused 10 minutes before each of the unplanned purchase, which ones would you have avoided? So let's use this as example. So as you can see here, he bought data bundle, Uber to work, snack plus drinks. So if like he paused 10 minutes to reflect whether he should buy or not, I'm sure by the end of the day he would have removed most of the expenses. So that is what you are expected to do here. Then one financial pattern that you see clearly now after your analysis, that is what you are supposed to do for exercise 5. So now for exercise 6, which is pattern recognition and habit replacement. So earlier on during my presentation, I talked about how you can replace your pattern by first identifying it, then you break it, and then you replace it. So this exercise will help you to identify your financial pattern and then replace it with a much better financial habit. So this is the work example how Abena designed her habit replacement. For the sake of time, so I'm trying to rush through it since this exercise, and when I share it with you, you can definitely read through it and have a better understanding. So part A of the exercise is one financial mistake Abena keeps on repeating, and she said, buying clothes I don't need whenever. I feel sad or inadequate. I will scroll Instagram, see an influencer looking amazing, then I'll feel bad about myself, then I'll order something online to feel better. So that is one financial mistake she keep on repeating. What does this pattern usually show up, or when does this pattern usually show up? And then she second that it shows up during stress or emotional difficulty, when comparing myself to others, when feeling insecure or inadequate. So now the question is, what do I tell myself to justify this behavior? Most of the times, Abina tell herself, I deserve to look good. This will make me feel confident. After all, it's only 150 cedis. I'll wear it all the time, even though she knows that she's not going to be wearing it all the time. Then the next question is, what has this pattern cost me so far? So according to Abina, in money, 3,600 cedis in the past year. That is what this financial mistake has costed her. Then in peace of mind, I feel guilty every time I open my closet and see on one clothes with tag still on them. In progress towards goals, I could have saved for a professional camera for my side business. So this is the reflection that Abina made. So now the part B is you have to design your replacement habits. After identifying your habits, your pattern, you have to replace it with a much better one. So now, according to Abna, her old habit is buying clothes when feeling inadequate. Then the trigger is scrolling Instagram, seeing influencers, feeling inferior. So now, according to her, the new response is close Instagram immediately. Open my confidence folder on my phone. It will be my photos of achievements, compliments I've received, goals that I've been able to achieve. If I still want to buy something after 24 hours, I can. So this is very simple. If you want to buy anything, just pause for 24 hours, reflect on it, and if after 24 hours you still want to buy it, then you can go and buy it. You don't just have to buy something just because it came to mind that let me buy it, and just because you have the money you go and buy it. You first have to reflect, think deeply before you do that. So part C of the exercise is 7-day test. So day one, we have, did the trigger appear? Yes. Did I use my new response? Yes. How did it feel? Maybe it was awkward but empowering. Then if there's additional notes you have to add, she used, I closed Instagram 3 times, look at folder once. Then maybe day two, did the trigger appear? Yes. Did I use my new response? Maybe yes. How did it feel? Maybe it's getting easier. So for this exercise, it's all about you replacing the financial pattern you've identified with a much better habit. So basically, this is the exercise that you're supposed to do. So now this is your turn. This is where you're going to fill in your insights after identifying your financial patterns and all that. So the part A is for you to identify your repeating patterns. You have to list one financial mistake you keep on repeating. Then you have to describe it without excuse or justification. Then these are options. So you have to circle all that apply to your pattern, whether it happens right after income arrives, during stress or emotional difficulties, and others. Then the third one is, what do I tell myself to justify this behavior? Most of the times, what we tell ourselves is, I deserve it, especially when we receive our salary at the end of the month. We be like, oh God, look at the way I suffered from 5 a.m. every day till 7 or let's say 8 p.m. I'll always go to work, suffer and all that. So after receiving my salary, I deserve to spend. And that is why at the end of the day, we end up spending a lot of money. And some of us too, we use this term just this once. Oh, let me just spend today. I'm not going to spend again. Then someone will be like, I'll fix it later. After all, Charlie, let me go and spend. Later on, I'll get money, then I'll use it to fix it. Then the last justification is everyone else is doing it. So if I do it, there's nothing wrong with it. So you just have to list your justification, and then you have to understand what the pattern has cost you so far. That is in terms of money, how much money you spent on that pattern. In peace of mind, maybe you feel guilty about that. Then in progress towards goals, how it has affected your goals and all that. Then the part B of the exercise is to design your replacement habits. So you have to list the whole habit, the trigger, and then how you are going to respond when you are being triggered. This will help you. Then how you make this easier. Maybe if you are going to have an environmental change accountability partner, or you are going to remove temptation, it's up to you to do that. So an example is here. The old habit is maybe ordering food delivery when stressed after work. The trigger is arriving home tired and frustrated. So now your new response will be maybe eat the meal I prepared on Sunday, then decide if I still want delivery. How I'll make this easier. I'll prepare 5 simple meals every Sunday, keeping easy snacks visible. So basically, that is it. And then earlier on, I talked about the part C exercise, which is the 7 day test. For the next 7 days, you have to practice your new response every time the trigger appears. Then at the end of the day, you rate it out of 7. Then what made it easier? What made it harder? So these are the exercise for this week. And then once we are done, as usual, the community prompt. So you have to describe, this is the prompt that you are going to use to summarize what you've done for the week, which is to describe one specific financial pattern you discovered this week. Don't be generic, just be very specific. Tell us the exact trigger, the exact behavior, what you tell yourself to justify it, and what it has cost you in cities and peace of mind. You have to be very raw, be specific, and know that your courage will help others face their own patterns. This is one thing that I realized last week when I was asking people to provide their summary. I mean, I don't know, it feels like some of us were reluctant, but immediately the first person was able to send her summary. I realized that people also started doing the same. So please, just be very specific and be courageous enough to provide a summary of what we've been doing. And as I keep on saying, financial stability or financial freedom is not only about consuming the knowledge, but rather it's about taking action after having the knowledge. So it's very, very important. So this is the bridge to next week. You have seen the beliefs, you have faced your numbers, you have identified your patterns. Now comes the most important week of this entire week. As we all know, week 4 is all about exercises. So week 4 is where your awareness becomes ownership, where your understanding becomes commitment, where insights become action. So you are not going to learn anything new next week. Rather, you are going to integrate everything that you've learned so far into a comprehensive plan for your financial future. No more theory, but rather decision and commitment. Decision and commitment. So that is all for tonight, and I'll hand it over to Sebastian to continue with the session.
Yeah, so Ahmed, thank you for that. And then just a quick one. Mostly we ask them to submit their the workbook on Sunday evening. But then since the exercises and then the text here is more or less like a 7 day thing, when are they to submit that? Maybe I'm just asking for them. So I don't know if you can do that now.
Oh yeah, so they have the workbook for life. We are not going to take it back, but then they can try doing it from today till Sunday. Then they will analyze it based on tracking the expense that they've done so far. Send it to us to review it, provide feedback, and all that. But then it doesn't mean that it ends there. They'll have to keep on doing it. You just have to keep on doing it, reviewing it on your own, and all that. We just want you to provide a summary plus the workbook that you've done on Sunday so that we can look through it. If there's anything we have to add it. And I'm sure every single person who sent their workbook to me last week, I was able to provide feedback to them. And I'm sure they've able to, I mean, they definitely appreciated it because of the feedback. So just do it and provide a summary and then the work that you've done from today till Sunday, but you can keep on doing it right after that.
All right. So again, everyone, we are submitting as usual Sunday before 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. Right. So do you have any question on the exercises and then the text, or maybe the entire section? Hello, any question?
Okay, so Sebastian, while we are waiting for them to ask questions, I want to make a suggestion. I mean, I want all of us here to take decision. As we all know, next week we are not going to have. I mean, there's not going to be a session like this. It's all about exercises. So I want to know if we can have our meeting on Monday or Tuesday so that everyone will have enough time to work on the exercises, because there are going to be about 5 to 7 exercises for everyone to work on. So instead of having the meeting on Wednesday, it will limit your time. So why not have it on Monday or Tuesday so that you can have at least 5 days to work on all the exercises?
All right. So, guys, do we? I think most of them are reacting to it. No,
Yeah, someone
Monday
just said
between
Tuesday.
Monday and Tuesday. Hey, between Monday and Wednesday, right? That was the suggestion, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the submission. Sorry.
No, Monday and
And
Tuesday. Instead of
Monday.
the Wednesday, we replace Monday or Tuesday with
Okay,
it.
I hope that is just for next week.
Yes, just one. That's for week 4, because week 4 is our exercises.
All right.
So next week when we have our live session, I'm not going to talk about anything. I'm just going to take you through the exercise you are going to do and what you are expected to do. That is what I'm going to take everyone off. Yeah, so Monday or Tuesday, any of those days is fine. Instead of having instead of having it on Wednesday, we can have it on Monday or Tuesday, and that is totally fine. So I think what we can also do, what we can do, is to maybe bring up a poll on the group
Yeah,
so that either Monday or Tuesday, and then the most day that the day that people vote most, then we'll use that day. So within today till let's say Sunday, then we'll decide whether we're having a meeting on Monday or Tuesday.
sure, that will help. Yeah. Okay, so guys, do we have any question? Okay, so if there are no questions, can maybe everybody will do that. Everyone will do that here before we even do that again on the page. So let's start from Judith Ohini. Can you give us a summary of today's session so we can quickly wrap up?
All right. So today I learned that we should practice what we intend to do. Yes, like he used examples like when we enter a new year, most of us we have resolutions, but we don't practice it. We don't work towards the resolutions that we made. And if we are to apply this in our financial life, sometimes we have this intention that maybe we would save this amount of money by the end of the month, and we won't put in any practice towards that goal. And so if we do that, we won't see any changes. So for us to see changes, we should work on our habits. Yes, thank you.
All right, so thank you. You must always work on your habits. Your intentions alone are not enough, right? And then I don't think that will even get you anything. You must work on your habits and then put aside things that are not helping you, right? So let me continue. The next person here, Fuseni. I believe I get your name right. Fuseni. Hello, can you share a summary with us? Okay, Jessica, can you continue? Jessica Sika.
Okay, thank you. So, because I learned that I'm supposed to choose consistency over intensity. That when it has to do with savings, not so much about the intensity, as in the amount of money I'm saving, but the fact that I have to be consistent. So, consistency is very, very important. That was my major highlight. Thank you.
All right, thank you as well. Judith, then the other Judith, please. Hello, are you here?
Yes, please.
All right,
Please, I learned that we should, if we want to practice financial intelligence, then we must make it a habit of always sticking to the plan. Like we should be consistent in our financial plans. That's what I can say.
all right, thank you. as well. Richard. Rich.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. I learned that we should rather have systems in place to ensure that we stick to our plan, so that whatever goal that our financial goal that we want to achieve, we should have a system in place to achieve those goals rather than just making plans without putting systems in place. Thank you.
All right. Thank you as well. And then let me go back to Fuseni. Are you here? Is it Hamdia? Can you hear me? All right. So I mean, so before I wrap up, and then I mean, give my own highlights and then wrap up the section. Do you have any other thing to share before that?
Oh no, I don't. Okay, then let me just say this. Then you can wrap it up. That I'm happy that most of us are taking these sessions really serious, and I'm happy that we join the live sessions and all that. But then please, you don't just have to be joining. Make sure that even if you don't submit the workbook to us, make sure that you sit down to reflect, take actions. Execution is all that matters when it comes to financial intelligence. Make sure that you take action. I don't really care much when you don't provide a summary on the platform, or maybe when you don't send your workbook. I don't really care about that. At the end of the day, all that I want to see is change, financial stability in your life, and you can only achieve that through taking action. So please, let's make sure that we are taking actions every single time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you once again. Okay. So guys, so uh, thank you for your time and then joining. But then please let's try and then do the exercises, the text, and then also provide our summary on the page as well as sharing the workbook when the time is due, right? So for today's section, for me personally, I learned that um, we we trying to I want to put it well, that's why we trying to fix our finances is not only about the income that we have, okay, and then our habits and behaviors go a long way to affect everything that concerns our finances, not just the income, whether we receive a small income or a huge one, right? But then our behaviors, our habits towards everyday expenses that we make go a long way to put us on a particular side of the financial line, if I put it that way. So let's make sure we do everything and then also practice and work within our budget, right? So if there is nothing more to ask or share, then we will meet again next week for the exercises. As we said, we will create a poll and then based on the voting, we will have our meetings on either Monday or Tuesday, and then you have enough time for going through the exercises before the Sunday. Okay, so thank you all for joining us and see you in the group.
Bye, everyone.